Okay, good morning, everybody. Have we lost anybody on the boat? Are we still? Okay, so I hope you had a good evening yesterday. I was told your bus was too fast. So it's very difficult to estimate the time in Bangkok traffic, as you might have noticed. So welcome to the third day, and this is the last day of our time here in the meeting room. Tomorrow is our so-called field trip. We will go to the north of Bangkok. So before we're going to start with the last part of our knowledge sharing, the strong institution discussion, we would like to check if there are any insights or any questions, if we are able to answer them, because Iona had to take a flight in the middle of the night. Regarding the little exercise yesterday, I mean, the intention was foremost to have a little bit of kind of self-assessment, and of course it might not be too helpful to see, to listen to each other how your system looks like, as you saw the example yesterday from the Philippines, a lot of acronyms and all that. So, but any insights or any observations from doing the exercise? Or any question that is in your head regarding strategic purchasing? Maybe with our collective knowledge we can answer them. Yes, Matthias.
No, I would just like to ask to discuss very shortly the terminology that was proposed yesterday, like the hard caps and soft caps. We had some discussions on what that actually meant.
Okay, so what's the concrete question? I mean, discussing the terminology.
What is it? Because
what is hard cap or the soft cap?
Exactly. So what is meant here? Because we discussed it yesterday in our group, quite controversially, what it actually means. So,
anybody who can ad hoc provide some kind of explanation, definition, hard cap, soft cap? So here in Nepal, I see you penciled it out. You don't have any hard cap, soft caps. Anybody who has hard caps, soft caps, and can share?
No, it's more about how do we define hard cap and soft cap. That's because people are assuming different definitions. That's the problem.
So it's more about the definition rather than what it is. Okay, so as there are different definitions or different understanding among the groups, is there anything? Oh.
You want to explain that? So you have ticked both in Pakistan, hard caps and soft caps.
We were not basically able to understand what the hard cap means. Hard cap is the...
That's why you ticked it.
Different understanding.
Yeah. So what was your understanding?
We are understanding that if you go into a... Okay. I just tell you my idea, what was my idea when I was looking at it. We were looking at it as defining as, for example, we know already that, for example, we don't go above 50,000 Pak rupees, so that is a hard cap for us. Mm-hmm. And simply, if we have the same idea, all the team has the same idea. So we were thinking of hard cap as that,
okay.
as a hard cap.
And soft caps?
Soft caps was...
Thank you. When we were having a discussion among ourselves, so we thought that the hard caps are those, the fixed sublimits, that treatment cannot go beyond this sort of cost.
Yeah.
So we thought that this is a hard cap.
Sure.
Plus one more thing, that there are upper limits of all type of services.
Costs.
Like in Pakistan we have a cap of 700,000, so we cannot go to a 705 or 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So we thought that this is a hard cap.
Okay.
And the soft cap is a variable pricing. Maybe costing or variable should be for any services. There could be a variable sort of costing. So we had a hard cap and we
but
have
where
a
was the
soft cap.
confusion? Because Matthias said it was...
no, what the confusion in my understanding is, I think it could be either an amount that is hard, a limit provided to the provider per year.
Yeah.
Can't go beyond.
Okay.
That's a hard cap. Soft cap would be for me that you have some variability, like in Germany you get points for your services and the value per point can vary with. Or is it per service? And I think this was then
Yeah.
yesterday that there was a service, maternity services,
Okay, okay. See, basically, yeah, yes. Yes, Holger. This, it was on. No, now it is.
No, I don't. I think I don't need a microphone. Can everyone hear me without?
I can't tell about everyone.
Don't touch. Just wait. 1, 2, 3 now. And into the mic.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Magic touch.
I mean, this is what we see now. We all have different understandings, and I would agree. I would be very close to, with the German experience, to Matthias, what he mentioned, a hard cap. I would say, okay, this is a clear limit of cases that I contract with one provider, and then there are other mechanisms which I can introduce, and I would call them soft caps.
Yeah.
Can we reach out for Joanna and ask her, and in the documentation we find some information about that?
No, I will tell what it means in this context. So it means different things in different contexts. So what happened that, for example, if this comes under the choice of benefit, it has a different meaning. If it comes under the contracting, it has a different meaning. So under the contracting, what happens that it's a bit similar to what you and Matthias was saying. Because what happened that under the benefit package when we write, so when we say hard cap means that 500,000 or 700,000, whatever is the limit, you cannot exceed it. So that is for this whole scheme per se. That is not for a particular provider. But in terms of a particular provider, what happened that when you define that, for example, because it's not only talking about fee for service or DRG, it also talks about capitation and everything, because here we are talking contracting, and contracting can be for various purposes. So that's where this comes, that for a particular provider, if you have a fixed number of services defined, and this is not very much applicable mostly for the countries sitting here, because this has been taken from international context where a lot of countries which are in a different stage of evolution are there. So what happened that when the soft caps are there which are still applicable in our case, but the hard cap part where you define the fixed thing for a particular provider, that is at least what I understand of the 4 countries sitting here, it's not too much applicable right now. So this is more in terms of contracting with a particular provider, not for an overall scheme in general. So that is why, but I think, but I have also seen that if you write just the same things here, under the choice of benefit, it has exactly the same meaning what Faisal you said or Imran you said. So that is, I think, only the confusion part is.
So maybe let's cut it here, because also Iona is not here, but I think, Holger, if you can maybe ask if there is any more need for clarification, we can ask Iona. So then let's continue, and we have a block this morning, and then in the afternoon, we have a final group discussion among countries, so literally about your learnings or takeaways from that exchange. And then we have the so-called open space. So if you would like to have a deeper discussion between individuals or country delegations, you can actually arrange that, right? Yeah, so it's a little bit more self-organized space. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to reintroduce you to Holger Thies. He's an advisor at the Ministry of Finance, right? Ministry of Finance in Cambodia. He is one of our so-called SIM experts. So these are associated experts embedded into an institution. So he's very close to the colleagues who are working there in Cambodia, and he took over the role to be the lead moderator or lead responsible person for our last topic, strong institutions. So the way we're going to do it is actually that we are going to have a short introduction about definitions, maybe to avoid that what just happened, and then we're going to have 2 conversations in groups, and then maybe a final conversation in plenary. So there is some smaller group discussion in mixed groups one more time, okay? Because you can always talk at home to each other. That's why we mix the groups. So then, Holger, you're up.
Yeah.
So give him a motivational clap.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. Good news of the day. What is the good news of the day? Doesn't work? Yeah, you can. Yeah, that works. Okay. So from my point of view, the good news of the day is coming today from Ethiopia. they planted yesterday 350 million trees, which is a new ever world record. And I think this is worth another applause, I would say. And the next applause that we will give is having another 350 million covered and included in UHC, I would say. Let's hope this event will help a little bit to get at least a few millions, I would say. Okay, thank you very much. So, first, okay. With the introduction from yours, sorry, I have to make a little bit of a correction of that. Actually, I'm an integrated embedded expert, that's right, but I'm not in the Ministry of Finance in Cambodia. We are hosted by the Ministry of Finance, which is, I think, a very good idea, a very good thing. But I'm working in a general secretariat for the National Social Protection Council. And the council consists of 11, correct me, 11 different ministries, and the Ministry of Finance has a chair in this council, and that's why we are attached to the Ministry of Finance, which once again, I would like to discuss later at the table a little bit if this is a good idea or what are the advantages of this kind of construction. But I'm not working in a health insurance fund at the moment. In my career, I did in several countries with a very long experience in German health insurance funds, in different health insurance funds which are very much under competition, which is quite different from what we have here, and that's why we have these kind of discussions like yesterday, what kind of measures and contracting freedoms we have or we don't have. Anyway, can we start with, can you please go back to the previous slide? Thank you very much. So in our agenda, we called it, this session, we called it strong institutions. And then I was a little bit challenging my colleagues and said, yeah, but what does it mean to have a strong institution? For me, it's more important to have a successful institution. And I would call it UHC institution and not health insurance or social health insurance or whatever. We are striving to UHC, at least if I recall our very first round that we had 2 days ago in the introduction, everyone was talking about UHC. And even if my institution is not covering every citizen in our country or all services that we want to be covered and so on, nevertheless, we are strive to UHC, so I would call it UHC institutions. And successful, I'm still not on the second slide, sorry. Yeah, okay, thank you for your support. And the second idea is, if we talk about successful, that means that includes the idea, what is success? So this, for me, includes already the idea, what are the indicators why I'm strong, which strong itself would not tell me if I'm successful or not. So just this as a framework and as an explanation, successful means for me, I have some goals, I invested already a lot of ideas where to go and what are the key indicators to measure my success. Now we're coming to the next slide. That leads me to a very managerial, economical approach and less administrative approach, which I see somehow conflicting. And for that reason, I would just introduce a definition of success factors, which we would look at in our different sessions that we have this morning. So we have to prioritize and we have to identify some of the factors which are contributing to our success, and that means we have to a little bit left aside other factors which are probably less relevant. So this is a huge managerial decision process already to be made, and this is what I want to highlight with this definition. Next slide, please. And here again, I want just to highlight we are burdened with a lot of administrative work and administrative regulations that we have to fulfill as public institutions. And somehow I see there some conflicts with our management aspirations that we have to cover all people. We talked about strategic purchasing, which is a very managerial concept and not an administrative concept. And this is what I just want to highlight and what I want to give you as an idea for our discussion at the table. What is our conflict there probably because we are burdened and busy with many administrative things which don't really contribute to a successful use of the budgets that we have and covering the risk of the population that is insured in our institutes. Yeah, Joost mentioned already we will have 2 rounds. I mean, success factors in a health insurance funds, it's so broad. We had a deep dive yesterday on 2 of components to success. We had the IT and we had strategic purchasing, contracting. And there are many, many more domains or modules, factors that we can imagine, and that's why we decided to have 2 rounds, and we want to structure them a little bit. This is my proposal to say we have hardware, infrastructure. So there's a setup of the institute in our countries, which I would like to be discussed at the table and see the difference of the mandate, the governance structure, what is the composition of the board, how does it work, what are the strengths, and what is the success factor in it. The organizational setup, which is also very much driven by administrative decisions. Once again, I would like to invite you to think about, and is it a conflict, should it be different? From a managerial point of view, I got in the preparation from Nishant the hint what is about outsourcing. So go please in the discussions at the table to such kind of details. We have work processes, job descriptions, which I also would count, which I would consider as hardware. This is a given fact. Can be changed, but for the moment, this is a skeleton of our institute and how it works. So this is why I count this as hardware. Please also discuss the strength and the successes that you know that you have with your work processes or how you developed it. And IT, business intelligence systems and so on. This is also what I would consider as infrastructure, as hardware, as a given that we can use in order to be successful. And there are more. So whatever you consider also as a hardware success factor in your institute, please at the table discuss it with the other countries' representatives and enrich ourselves by sharing this knowledge. If we have hardware, we also have software. So this is more the management and the soft skills success factors that we have. So what is about our vision and mission in our Health Insurance Institute? What is our idea where we are in 5 years, in 10 years? What is our aspiration where we want to go and which role we want to play in UHC in our country? And how is then the operationalization of that in a mission? So what is our mission then? Financial management. First of all, we are a financial institute. We have to cover the health expenditures and have to protect our insurees. So financial management is one of the core success factors. What is about risk management? Yesterday in the discussion, sometimes I heard moral hazard, how to deal with that, and these kind of things I would dedicate to these headlines. Oh, I never heard about human resource management so far, these 2 days, which from my point of view is the most important success factor. And I would like also to invite you to discuss a little bit the limitations. Yeah, I discussed with Hubert yesterday about this thing, and he said, no, human resources is so restricted, it's more hardware. Because I can't hire and I have no possibility to increase salaries, which I agree. I would say this is a hardware, this is a restriction coming from outside. But here I'm talking about the capacity development, getting the right people to the right point, management of objectives I would put here. Such kind of motivation and these kind of soft skills, which I think contributes very much to the success of our institute. And once again, I invite you under this label to discuss different experience, different measures that you implemented or that you can think about to implement in the future. Change management and project management. What kind of tools do you use? Do you have an elaborated change management system and concept in your institute? When I remember the timeline that we had, I mean, there's every month a new thing coming in our institutes. So how do you deal with all these changes? Keeping people on track and keep them motivated for this very challenging endeavor where we are in now. And more specific project management, how to implement these different things. And last but not least, strategic purchasing was already one of the core elements yesterday. Okay, we worked already a lot on that, but this also belongs very much to the soft success factors of a health insurance institute, of a UHC institute, I would say. And here again, I would open the discussion, whatever you consider as software success factors, please bring it to the table and discuss it. The second round that we will have this morning is then about communication, but not at a table. This will be a plenary discussion led by Jost, yeah? This is our agreement. So, and I just want to throw these two headlines here. So we will talk a little bit about what is our strength in communicating to different stakeholder groups. Yeah, but once again, we will do this differently in a plenary session, and then it's public relation and also other issues and other experience that we would like to share here. So that's all from my side. Very short introduction. And I give the mic back. No comments from my side, just leave it there. And I give back to Jost because he will organize our group work now. And here you can see already the questions for the first round of table discussions.
So we thought we're going to do two rounds and then one in plenary for the whole morning. So maybe this round is until coffee break probably. So maybe, but this time we have a discussion and maybe hear some insights from the conversations, okay? So these are the questions, and for each group, we want to form 3 groups. We have 3 volunteer moderators. So Holger will sit at one, Matthias will facilitate one, and Hubert will facilitate one. And so it's a very open conversation, and you see there are a couple of questions. You don't have to go one by one, yeah? But it would be nice if you capture some insights during the conversation so that they can be shared in plenary at the end before we break for coffee, okay? So how are we going to form groups? I thought as you are still sitting very closely in country groups, and many of you, I think, haven't even voluntarily vacated your chair throughout the last 2 days, only when we asked you to. We do a highly sophisticated method and we count from 1 to 3. Okay? So I will just run through and not counting the moderators. If you are not participating for whatever reason, just let me know. Okay? I start here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Are you observing? Okay, so as the numbers are still there, everybody who has a 1 goes to this area, and Holger's already sitting there. Everybody who has a 2, Hubert is already sitting there. So maybe 2 there, where Hubert sits, there's a 2. And 3, maybe it's good if you lift the table a little bit and go this way. Because the moderator already tired. Okay. Time 10:30 is, but we go with the energy. We don't have time pressure. So Holger, you are 1, right? And Matthias, you go. Maybe we lift the table without the cable here. This is 3. Okay, then maybe hijack this one and we remove the documenters. This is 2. 2 is here. And please make sure nobody sits in the second row. We have only first class seats. Here's also some space.
Okay, so welcome to group 3. I'm Matthias, so I'm not an expert. I have to admit the topic. I have been volunteered just to moderate your discussion. I think we have like 15 minutes or so to discuss very broadly your experiences in infrastructure. What is it your institution brings in terms of infrastructure, what works well, and Holger has shared a few questions with us. He suggested as an input to start our discussion. So how would you see from your experience what is the state of your setup, your governance structure? How does your governance structure look of your institution? What is your, how does already he acts, for example, council, which is organized by bringing 11 ministries together. National Social Protection Council, so questions like this. How does your governance structure look? What is the board? How?
Started as a social protection initiative and project. So we started and we constituted a national steering committee. So in post 2011 scenario, the country has been administratively devolved, especially in the state. So we constituted a central steering committee. But before in 2011 scenario, the health and education was a federal center. Everything was managed, funded through the national or the federal government. But in 2010 and 11, given to the public content. So there was a certain period in the federal government there was no ministry of health. So in one country there were actually 5 different countries. The partners have to deal with 5 different countries, provinces instead of having one. So with the help of WHO and with the support of partners, we developed our central federal small ministry that now is known as committee was formed with the participation from all provinces and health department. And then one every 2 months. It's not fixed, but one meeting every quarter.
How would you say this interplay between federal government and
Till this time, it's fulfilling its role and responsibility. The provincial secretaries change, and every time they come, they need to be briefed.
But what happened that we removed the proposal. After a few years, we realized that we need a separate agency. We removed the proposal to the government to say that let us set up a new agency. So ministry tried 3 times.
because they thought it was too expensive?
No, they thought scheme is going well anyway. And their experience with these kind of autonomous agencies were not so great in some other ministries. They thought that why to have one more agency. So we tried 2-3 times, we moved proposal, but every time which government took, which has far-reaching implications, that the person who is deputed as CEO will be getting the rank of a Secretary of Government of India, which is the highest bureaucratic rank. So that way this person will have a lot of financial and the other kind of powers, and he or she can command respect from the provinces and from other ministries. And this is something so, but it's not necessary that this person will have to be from the government. and Faisal was brought from somewhere else to manage this actually in the same way, but otherwise he was brought in from ADP and he is now the CEO. And there were two questions which were very important. One, what kind of skill sets we should have in the organization and what kind of skill sets we can outsource. For example, do we have a whole research team within the agency or we tie with the research institution at the country? So the mission because of the coverage, what was the national level program? National agency we have the national level yourself hired around some guide 40 people or the central level government deals with the US. And what we also realized the US agency prioritize subsections to the Ministry of Health. For every small Ministry of Health had a the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Health and Population with the US was set up in May 2018 and January 2019 when we go on to the implementing agency by this insurance board. All the decisions that is our governance structure including revision of things. Yes. Regarding the study, I'd like to add something. So for that, there are like my colleague have different types of health services. For the primary health care, the Ministry of Health, there are a lot of programs. For example, free maternity care, free child health care, different programs for like different diseases, targeted diseases. But for the referral care, there is a different program.
The question was about, you started quite well on you have an health insurance board, which is a decision maker of your health insurance. And I think it's under the Health Insurance Act.
Do you have the benefit
Nepal,
that you learn from your past
But from that, you have the organizational structure of this health insurance, which is the hardware, where how you manage this organization.
because this is
So you will have job descriptions.
Either installation or short-term contracting from the market. So, and this is quite the weakness we are facing in health insurance board, and this is also the opportunity to hire more technical human resources from the market and external expertise for that, for the customization.
Of the human resources that are involved in providing the services. Further step to improve the services. We are
I
trying
think you are
to
in
make
the
it
stage of implementing.
The health insurance board politically institution that was politically
Finance, which is not aligned with this, has no personal interest, no own interest in this kind of thing. This is my interpretation. What is the
In
Cambodian
Pakistan, what we are doing is constitutional institution within itself. It is a steering committee made by one about Pakistan. Healthcare has been devolved. So the federal government has very few role in what is being done in the provinces. So it has to bring all provinces together to understand health insurance.
As a representative from PMI, this scheme is perceived as one of the key flagship schemes, social schemes of the. Yesterday it was about Ayushman Bharat. So all stakeholders of the states, everything. Prime Minister himself would be.
Meaning, the director in the beginning was appointed by the Ministry of Health. And
since there is the act by curiosity. This nomenclature, the whole health insurance is called a health insurance board. The board is use the space and freedom that is given to them when they're happy with the KGI. I've seen this many times over the last 30 years. I regret this and I don't know what to do because it takes people with
Minister of Labour is the chairman of the board director of the Social Security Fund. And we have the Ministry of Government Representative, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Civil Servant, Social.
They have a council. This council is already working for the last 15 years, where all these members come.
Where we do first a coffee break, and after the coffee break, we hear a few insights before we go to the next question on software. Okay, so if you want to talk for another 2 or 3 minutes, but then whenever you're ready, go for your coffee and come back. All is good. All is good.
Ohne dass es überhaupt schon losging, kann er dann direkt den Secretary General vom Fischer anrufen und sagen, hier, das wird los. Ja. Nach dem Motto, ja, macht er auch dieses Schreiben, das Schreiben. Weißt du, dann gibt es auch keine Hiccups. Dann wird dir genau gesagt, was da drinstehen soll, dann was informiert werden muss. Und dann ändert das. Das ist eigentlich individuell. Aber dafür habe ich keine. Ich schicke dann kein offizielles Schreiben als Change Initiative und 5 Wochen ignoriere.
So, before we have our last discussion round, we are maybe quick, last discussion round. Before we continue with the software, so to say, and I know that not everybody has touched every question, but this was intentional. So we would like to just take a quick bookmark and hear maybe from each group for 2 minutes, maybe some highlights or 1 or 2 insights, yeah? So you don't have to list all the topics you have discussed or try to summarize a discussion of 1 hour in 2 minutes. That's impossible. But maybe some bookmark, some insight. And I start maybe with table 3 here. Matthias, you would be so nice, yeah?
In very brief, so we discussed a lot in the beginning about how to bring different actors together in the governance structure, and I think this was quite interesting. Quite a few different country examples from almost all ministries to the ministry in health being in the lead, so and what the implications are of that. We talked about autonomy of the institution. That's really important to have power assigned also to the head of the institution. So those were permeating topics. On fragmentation and how to address that. That was another discussion thread in our group. And we tried to identify a few lessons learned. What can we learn from each other, even if it's a highly political process, of course. As I said before, the power side was one of the lessons learned. Then the skill sets, how important those are. and in addressing HR shortcomings. One suggestion was even that the job descriptions and the processes might be quite similar between the institutions, and whether we could share those documents between institutions. So that was one concrete suggestion for the way forward. Challenges, similar challenges for the countries, so human resource capacities, one of the major ones. And we also talked about legislation, how important that is to really have a framework for the wider social protection and how health fits within that.
Okay, thank you. Matthias? Table here, anybody? Or spontaneous? Hubert? Can we also one single point?
Yeah, I think there are similar findings to the previous table, of course. However, what we need to consider is that we have certain countries with different stages in their development and a different type of implementation mode, which is driving as much this governance structure and as a result, the work process, the job descriptions. Like India, far advanced already through many years of experience of implementation, so they have a strong IT structure already, job descriptions. In terms of structural governance, hardware already very well developed. And let's say a little bit the opposite, Cambodia as a little bit younger UHC state, I would say. We are in the beginning, so things are starting to be developed and starting growing together, where the governance structure then is developing in a slightly different direction. And this to compare is quite a difficult issue. Still, we can learn from each other, but the different stages are resulting out of the experience you have made in your countries. I think this summarizes a little bit the discussions on our table.
Thank you. That was an insight from table 2. And I go to table 1. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our discussion is much like the same as the other two tables in HIT. All the governance structure in all the countries are what we have discussed, and what I have learned is more like a political governance setup in all the countries. And in all the countries, there are some kind of a steering committee or a board committee meeting which is being held and run by the governors and by the political administration. And what we have come to know at the end, what is the key point for us to learn is that we have to need more skilled people, as the UHC or the health insurance is very much new in all the setups, and it needs time and needs a very beautiful word given by the Hoger, and that's we need a passionate people to run or move towards or step towards the UHC.
So passionate people. Are you passionate? Any passionate people in the room? All very tired from passionate dancing. I heard rumors. Anybody wanted to add on? No? That's it? Okay, 1 point, and then we go on. Mohammed?
To improve work processes, I think there is a need to have more strong coordination among other departments, so that road towards UHC can be achieved more smoothly.
Okay. Okay, another one. Okay.
I'm not quite sure whether Imran would be able to consent me, but clear job description and the performance contract between the top authorities and their subordinate is also important to cater the objective of USC.
Okay. So, thank you. So let's continue our conversation. So Hubert, you want to add on that? Okay, now we're starting the plenary discussion. Okay, only 1 point, okay?
I think what we have all in common is a little bit we're coming out of a governmental structure with a governmental human resource management as a hardware structure. And often we're facing the problem that we have to act within a government's staffing structure, which results sometimes that we don't get the right people from the market. This is a little bit hindering. And the second thing, a high staff turnover. Once they are trained by us, then they may opt out for better jobs somewhere else. And this is something very difficult in this governance structure.
Okay, two major points. Yes, very interesting. Okay, let's continue. We have a second round of question. And however, I thought we change one more time. Or you want to stay as you are? Change one more time, meet some more other insights, I think, yeah? Okay. So the questions here are are these the ones? Yes, Holger, right? Yes. What do you think your vision and mission should look like? What are the core elements about financial management, human resource management, and also what kind of change management, or any topic you feel like in the soft skill managerial success factors? So these are all food for thought, yeah? So maybe you just check who wants to go first. And then group settings, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So you all remember your first name, I hope. I hope it's your real, I mean, at least the one you are registered with. That's probably your official one, even if you're using a different one. So all the people from A to I, from America to Italy, and in between, will be at table 1. Who has a first name between A and I? How many remember their first name? They're already there? So that's lottery. Yeah. And then everybody who starts with J, like Jamaica, to R, Russia, will be at table 2. Anybody who has a name between Jamaica and Russia? Yes. Okay, that's table 2. And anybody between Spain and Zambia or Zimbabwe, yeah, will be at table group 3. Of course, our moderators as well as our documenters maybe stay put as they see fit. Everybody else, please move. And if it by some mistake we have too many people at one table, you can always move back somewhere else. But
Are we getting a mix?
1, 2, 3.
See, Cambodia left me.
So I really hope you remember your first name.
Cambodia left me. That was the wrong setting.
Most of Nepal here, I think.
There's Nepal and Pakistan and India.
Okay, we can also count.
Yeah, you're Cambodia.
I can talk about Cambodia.
So now we are 4 equal.
Yeah.
Which kind of new topic for you to change management? Because you are new, so how do you manage change? Sorry if I interrupted there. So thank you very much, but I think our discussion should be, of course, we need to look at the entire system, because you referred now to the providers and to the insurance companies and so. I think this is all very relevant points. Management, it's really all those soft mission. Like in your institution, do you have an understanding of
For the non-government, the only persons who are appointed by external. What's that? I think you really have to go. Just yesterday, that's the other soft skill, communication. Just yesterday, our chief minister, I'm sure in other countries, yesterday what happened is that we had a prime minister takes
I think we get to the next cut. Exactly, this was one of the questions we have.
So well, just yesterday PM put a tweet that during the Pragati I had extensive discussion on the scheme. I'm very happy that 3.4. So yeah, yeah, but they also this is not Andorra. No. Okay, let's come back to change. Yeah, so the project management. So we have a simple structure that we have defined what capacities will be owned by the IT, but our vision is that in the next 1 or 2 years we build internal capacity and not use them then later on. They are very expensive, but then you
not always looking behind, others having the idea. Let's say these cover another 20%, another half, I don't know, but being able to ahead this we're also expanding into the disabled people who are registered in the field. So we are still working with, there's a very big lobby of smoking lobby and pro-smoking lobby, which actually,
but that's a very tricky, it's a very tricky because if you will have tobacco tax and drinking tax, funding, tomorrow your own departments will be, promoting these services so that they can earn more money. So I think engaging that, there are several experiences perhaps in Europe or in several countries where I think that capability, but the long-term financial sustainability, not only to be dependent on that taxpayers, but also to have some kind of contributions co-financing system that is to be
what I see again is which always brings us under pressure. If someone comes with a nice idea from outside somewhere, and then we just have to follow because he has a lobby, I don't know for what reasons people eat this idea and jump on this idea. So my aspiration was of having a vision instead of just reacting always what is decided. I don't know which means. This is why I donor MOH collaboration before. Very interesting idea. Can you just share it?
Currently, that I see the positive way from the government to, especially for the application the time being only for certification and monitoring, the claim for the hierarchical fund, and hierarchical fund is for beneficiary only the ID pool, and the budget was
running first and around 200,000, sorry, 20,000 for running first, and after that we can fund for administrative. First for healthcare, we need the budget except salary, and we have the run, and for pension is
only a certain proportion.
Already there are, we are considering that in the census there were some technologies but they are still left out. So 2011 new census, there will be some addition there. Yeah.
So just a quick time check. My suggestion is you continue as you feel comfortable. At the latest,
session now. So you can continue 5, 10, 15 minutes, but at the latest 12:30 you should be around. Okay. Back at 1:30 and then we will wrap up. Yeah? So you decide how your energy taking. So,
keep them work, to pay them more and keep them working.
Wrap up the last session. So from my observation, it was difficult to stop you from talking. That means you apparently seem to have some good conversations at the table. Any insights from the table? I'm not asking now for a report, just anybody who would like to highlight something from the discussion about soft skills. Yes, Imran?
I think it is a very good opportunity to sit across each other and discuss topics which were relating to some of the things but there were many other topics which were discussed, which I think will be very useful for the team which has been part of it, I think.
For example, just to give one example.
For example, what we were looking at, Indian model of how they are bringing in the PMJ program and that. So that for us, that was very interesting for us.
Okay, so you're already in your reflection mode.
We had really quite interesting discussions. The interesting point is how different developed each of the programs are. And so there was an intense discussion about IT, human resource development, a little bit on financial management. There could have been a little bit more. But summarize it, we have to face one thing. We're coming most of all out of a governmental structure, which is not enabling us fully in terms of flexibility, accountability, transparency, and doing the things like we discussed yesterday, like strategic purchasing. There are a lot of limitations in the systems. HR, for example, as I said before, again, we are within a limited HR structure given by the government, and so we have less flexibility. The more independent we are becoming and can hiring from a private market, then we can manage a little bit better in getting the better people in. And this is a type of crucial and critical thing we may have with the implementation of health insurance funds, either public or private. And so we need to admit how we overcome a little bit the governmental burden. Of course, we have to recognize there has supposed to be a governmental control. So how we regulate that?
Thank you, Hubert. Any other thoughts, reflections? Participants, moderators, anybody you want to highlight? Yes.
Yeah, here.
Okay, behind you, Matthias.
Yeah, what I found quite promising is also the emerging insight to create evidence and use evidence. So some of the schemes, for example, like India, they said they have an innovation unit, and they relate also with research and academia, and I think this is quite important that we really need. Also Cambodia thinks about building up capacity at National Institute of Public Health, and so I think this is quite important that we create an evidence base for what works. And what doesn't.
Okay. Okay, I see two. Maybe first Cambodia and then Wendy. Sir.
All that we discussed very important, but one key that I want to explore in my idea is political commitment. I know that before the experience from Indian government is the high commitment of universal coverage that I know. This we can move. It depends on the political commitment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes, some of the issues have already come up. There was, for the vision and the mission, like most of the countries were already in a paradigm shift to engage from the policy level to the stakeholders, the institutions, to prepare for the changes at the different stages where they find themselves. Most of the challenges already came up, like the right kind of staff, the right set of skills, the right distribution in the institutions for health insurance. And then Cambodia already mentioned the strong commitment at policy level, advocacy issues, that needs to be stronger to get the kind of finance that they need to support these institutions. Evidence also came up strongly from India. They had 3 different agencies that had been contracted to generate evidence to see which of how the schemes are performing and what can be a learning effect across, adapting to digital revolution, going from paper to electronic base, that came up.
So a lot of topics.
Yes, we really had an intensive discussion, and incentives to keep the right kind of people, not to get them into the private sector.
Okay.
That also came up, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully not only you mentioned the topics, so here and there, I think you understand you shared some approaches and some challenges and how you try to overcome the challenges. Thank you, Wendy. So maybe let's cut it here. I wanted to ask Holger to have the last word for this session. There was also a topic we didn't touch. We were discussing if we should touch the topic of stakeholder management, but I think it was some kind of mainstreamed in your conversation. But however, maybe Holger, to wrap up the session, I will give you one more time the mic, and maybe you also share your insights as we designed that session together, and you were the expert. Yes.
I have already, Mike. Thank you very much, Jost. Yeah. Thank you very much for all active participation in 2 rounds, which raised a lot of concerns, a lot of issues going on in the different countries, and how you deal with the one or the other aspect of what I proposed you as success factors. Like Jost explained, we left out the communication, which I think it's also very relevant success factor. And our preparation was, as you mentioned, to have another couple of minutes, which unfortunately we don't have. But NHS, so a universal health coverage company, institute, however you will call this, can be a rock star. Have you ever thought about that? This was my first idea when I saw this. So these are the Olympic Games in London. I don't know when it was, some 8-10 years ago. I don't remember exactly. So NHS was a rock star at the Olympic Games at this time. I just want to give you an inspiration. Why is my health insurance institute not a rock star in my country? And in one of the discussions, I raised my mobile and said, yes, probably 5 million people might identify this logo here. So what a huge corporate design success this is. Why not we? I would consider health is more important than talking at a phone, at a mobile. And so just as an inspiration, take it just as an inspiration, what is possible or what probably we have to think about, which is out of the box at the moment, and probably we should put it in. And this is another slide, also from UK, a couple of years later. Wow. Whew. From the NHS point of view, I would say a disaster of communication. I mean, they are used for a totally different thing, politicized, and everyone has his personal opinion about Brexit, yes or no, whatever. This is your personal opinion, but use a health UHC institute and the National Health Service in UK for such kind of a campaign. Communication can also be quite challenging, and this is the other side of the coin when it comes to communication and being in a public institute and being in the public view, to be cautious with your communication and what you communicate. My idea, and this would be my final sentence now, Jost is pressuring me very much, no? Okay, is, and this leads me to, or reminds me to a conversation that we had at the table just during lunch. Yeah, we have to promote the services, take up services, and doing more prevention, which we cover in our Health Insurance Institute. My point of view, or my idea of this session was more business-orientated, company-orientated, corporate-orientated. What is our core contribution to UHC? Financial protection. Not taking up services. This is the job of the Ministry of the Health Sector and so on. And we as a financial protector, this is our contribution to the UHC. Much more than anything else, I would say. And think about what is my special role in the country and what is my contribution. And this is what I'm communicating. And keep it simple so that everyone can understand. So take care of your stakeholder groups when you communicate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Holger. So that's the end of block 3. And now as a coach, I mean a business coach would probably say now, okay, good, we talked about it, so what and then what? Meaning, what are you taking home to your respective countries? As you know, you have time to talk informally if you feel like later this afternoon after the coffee break, but we wanted to finish with a coffee break officially and close the workshop. So what we're going to do now, last official major session is actually envisioning the future, we called it, big word. I mean, we don't do a visioning for UHC or health insurance now, but we want you to sit according to your flags and maybe talk for maximum half an hour and maybe share and discuss what are you taking home. And as you are not such a homogeneous groups, because you come from different organizations, sometimes different states or provinces or from the federal level. So have a quick conversation and think about what are we going to do with what we have learned, if at all, or if there's anything you want to follow up on. And then we take a soundbite by one of our GIZ colleagues maybe, who will then summarize if there's anything worth mentioning, what India should know from Pakistan or Pakistan should know from India, or maybe there's even some collaboration or intended or something, okay? Just a quick, relaxed conversation in your country groups. So that means Paul Rickard has to move from Cambodia to Nepal. And India has to assemble, agree on one table. The Indian flag is already there. And also, Dr. Beam, I think you have to leave India and go back to Pakistan. I don't know how you got the visa anyhow in the first place. So quick, at least. Okay, so please, and of course all colleagues who are working in a respective country. Oh, okay, the flag is moving.
retain the human issues. That this is the common issue for all the countries. It would be better to give the continuity to the same human issues to make the program more successful and to understand very deeply and to share the knowledge information.
Many things.
what we learned, first of all, is regarding the principle and philosophy of health insurance program and universal health coverage, parts, and along with its modus operandi, because the modus operandi of the different country are, we still have a greater deal on us, which regarding the which model is better than which model. So we need to have clear, clear consensus regarding our best model to fit it. The first thought they have this universal health coverage, totally public program, and totally and this health insurance board becomes autonomous. We need to continue this program in my view. And the fourth thing is HR issues, organization setup. These are also very, very relevant and important to make this organization more efficient, to make the program temporary type of organogram structure, which needs to be refined, and we need to have our own organization structure. This could be possible only once we could be able to complete our training survey, because that is also important to make this organization. The such adjustment is also made in the program and policy, and some financial contribution and other things.
If that assumption is there, then we lose its system. We are getting strategic purchase is also there, but no one in this group is like that, except which was I don't like that.
And depending on the Ministry of Interior, the next 5 years,
and then you always get referred. First, if I say you go to the primary care center, if they refer you down capacity for gatekeeping in India right now, even if you say there should be a gatekeeping, where will the gatekeeping?
Our impression that India has some
फिर दूरी छूट बहुत सी बात परचेजिंग तो
can be related to
बीचों से बात हुई थी आबाद जो आया था और हमने यही डिस्कशन की थी कि हॉस्पिटल साइड पे बिकॉज दैट्स द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ WHO हमें भी लोग जो लाने पड़ रहे थे वहाँ से हमारी स्ट्रेंथ थी हमारी एक्चुअली WHO शुड वर्क हम अपनी हमारे होंगे हम एक हम पैरेलल सेशंस चल रहे होंगे ना जिसमें पैरेलल सेशंस चल रहे
That's a different mediator. But the concept per se is not bad.
That someone will decide and I will then react, but to have myself in my for my institution to have no vision. Whilst they come up with some ideas and stimulate the discussion.
One of the problems of NSSF is towards the necessary. So let's say to bring, we need to finalize this stuff now to the political. Five big things we need still to implement. Not still. Still implement. I think that we know.